As a Canadian, you essentially have two ways to hold Bitcoin. You can either cold storage, keep your own seed phrase, and the only person you have to trust is yourself. And there's the second option, which is have someone else custody. You have a brokerage or an exchange, and essentially you're trusting someone else to hold your keys. Now, I'm not here to tell you which one to choose. This is not financial advice, but in today's video, I'm gonna try and give my best case as to why cold storage might be the option or why it might not matter for you. So welcome everybody. My name is Tafari. I run a channel where I try and educate on Bitcoin, finance altogether, and just show my journey and what I'm doing. And if you find videos like this useful or educational, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe down below. It keeps me motivated to keep making these videos because I don't make any money off them. I'm doing it strictly to help people and to share the things that I learn. But now enough about that, let's get straight into the video. So to start this video off, I want to start with an actual story, something that happened within Canada and something that I think is actually a deeper point as to why self-custody might be the option for you. Now, this is a real story, and this is something that hasn't only happened in Canada, but essentially there was a company called Quadriga, I think, QuadrigaCX. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's spelled like this. And essentially this company was one of the biggest crypto exchanges within Canada. Then in January 2019, the company had announced that their founder or CEO, Gerald Cotton, had passed away on a trip to India. Now, this was a sudden tragedy. I think he died on his honeymoon, which, you know, you wouldn't wish on anyone, but essentially what happened was he was the only one who held the keys to the account. So essentially what died with him was the keys to everyone's crypto. And that's exactly what happened, is that everybody who held with that company or that custodian essentially lost access to their keys overnight. There was around 200 something million that was therefore lost because this man had died. Now, it gets even worse with this story because there wasn't only a death that happened, it was actually the case that the founder or CEO, Gerald Cotton, had actually been committing fraud. So essentially 150 million of these lost coins were actually lost because he was essentially trading against his own customers. Now, this story is crazy on all fronts because you have the risk of a tragedy with the CEO and, you know, he could have been defrauding. I'm not going to say whether he was or not. I don't know the exact details of the story, and, you know, I don't want to talk bad about a dead man, but essentially the lesson here is that it doesn't really matter whether he died and that's how the coins were lost, or he was a fraudster who was committing a Ponzi scheme. That's not the important part because it leads to the same result. The people trusted someone with their coins, and when that trust wasn't fulfilled, they no longer had access to those coins. They essentially didn't have control of their money. And that's essentially the lesson with this story, is that when someone else holds your Bitcoin, you're holding a promise. They're holding the Bitcoin. And there's such a common saying within the Bitcoin community, it's not your keys, not your coins. And that holds true in almost every circumstance where you're buying with an exchange or a brokerage. So now you're probably looking at your broker a little different. You're probably questioning where the CEO is right now, what he's doing with the money. But now I have a second story if you're not worried enough. So in this story, luckily nobody died, nobody got hacked, but there was still money lost, access to money that was forfeited or restricted. On February 2022, the convoy protests, whatever you think about them doesn't matter, and I want you to ignore the politics with this specific case just so you can understand the deeper point, is that these people were protesting. Essentially, the government decided to enact something called the Emergencies Act. Part of this order was telling banks and crypto exchanges to freeze the accounts of the protesters related in this incident. And it wasn't just protesters, it was people connected to those protesters. And it was before a trial, before any charges. Around 120 accounts were frozen, and about $7.8 million was no longer accessible from these people. And the thing that should make anyone pause within this case is that when it went to court, the appeal judges pointed out that there was a lack of rigor. Essentially, in freezing these people's accounts, they didn't actually go that deep into whose account they were freezing. They weren't going after the most stringent protesters, the violent ones. I don't even know if there was violent ones, but I'm just saying they didn't do their due diligence when freezing these people's accounts. They kind of just said like, okay, you're protest adjacent, no money for you. And they were essentially leaning on news reports and social media, and essentially they were doing the equivalent of like when kids are talking in class, they just tell everybody to be quiet. It's like, you're making a ruckus, the whole class now can't go to recess. That's not a great example. You get the point. But essentially, you didn't have to do anything. You just had to be associated with it, and they decided to freeze your account. And to be clear, I'm not saying what they did was right. The reason I'm giving this example is because at any point, a government can deem you dangerous, and sometimes they don't have a correct reason. And in this case specifically, two courts ruled that this was an excessive use of the Emergencies Act. They essentially didn't need to use it here. It was essentially unreasonable and unconstitutional. And to be clear, the court in 2024 actually ruled this as a violation of rights. So here's the part that's actually relevant to you. It's not that you can get wrongfully accused of something or even rightfully accused. I'm not saying what the protesters did is good or bad. I don't really care. The point is that when your money is not held by you, you fundamentally don't control it. Like, there's the instance with the custodian where a tragedy happens, he's frauding, whatever it is, and you then don't have access to your coins. And there's also a situation where you've literally done nothing wrong. There was no fraud, there was no failure of custodian. There was simply just the government deemed you not worthy of that money, therefore you didn't have access to that money. Now, let me be fully straight with you, because I'm not here to scare you. These stories are rare. Most people will never have their account frozen. Most people will never have their money in an exchange that fails. Most people will go their entire lives without running into any of this. And to be clear, if you have a small amount or you're just getting started and you're holding a Bitcoin ETF, realistically, the information I shared with you isn't a pitch to get you to run into cold storage Bitcoin or to make you second guess holding your ETF. That's not what this is. And here's where I want to be completely honest. Self-custody comes with its own risks. If I lose my keys or I'm not responsible in some degree, that puts me at my own risk. The ability to custody with someone and they handle all of that is actually something that may put a lot of ease in people's lives. And the thought of custodying their own money is actually the scary part. I get that. I presented these stories as an actual reality. This is something that has happened in Canada, and it's not that it will happen to you, it's that you might want insurance if it does happen. But I also want you to know that having your money and storing it yourself is sometimes just as dangerous. But it's all dependent on what you value at the end of the day. And to be honest, you can hold both. You could hold your Bitcoin with a custodian, or you could cold storage. That's personally what I do. So if you want to have your money in a place where it's safe, insured, and there's an ease of buying and selling, I would say maybe go the ETF route. If you're more interested and you value more having your own keys, having the rights and sovereignty of your own money, I would say go maybe the cold storage route. And maybe you value both, so you can do both. At the end of the day, the right call is up to you. You can decide what to do with your money. But my goal with this video is to hopefully share with you and educate you on the different reasons why one might be better than the other, or why they're both great. Now, if these stories were very impactful and you now find a reason to cold storage your Bitcoin, I have a link to Trezor down below, and that's the one I currently use. And if you don't really care and you just want to have someone custody for you, I also have a link to Wealthsimple down below. And because I'm Canadian and this is a Canadian specific video, I do seriously suggest Wealthsimple. So all links are down below if you need the resources. I will also link all the articles I read for these two stories, so you can do your own research and look into them yourself. But overall, if you found this video useful, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll make videos like this consistently, and feedback really matters. So if you like these Canadian specific videos and you like me doing more deep dives into specific topics about Bitcoin, leave a comment saying Canadian, and I'll know that I should make more videos like this. I appreciate all the support. Until next time, until next video, I will see you guys later. Peace.